Shout out to film lovers at the Sonoma International Film Festival. Film lovers, of course, wine lovers and food lovers. I'm Adán Medrano, and I'm going to demo today some meatballs that are featured in the feature film in the documentary Truly Texas Mexican. The meatballs are made with Chile Ancho. And a Chile Ancho basically is a poblano chile that has been ripened and then dried. So we're going to start with that. First of all, we rehydrate the chiles. And to do that, we have to deseed them first. The nice thing about Texas Mexican cuisine, as you'll see in the film, is that it doesn't have all that cheese, it doesn't have all that heat. And this is an example because what we do is we open up the dried chile. What I do, you can do it several ways, but what I do is I do a slit down the side, and then I open it up, and then I take all the seeds out. When you take the seeds out, you'll notice that there are some membranes. And the membranes also have to be taken out. See, all the seeds are coming out. And the reason we take the seeds and the membranes is that we want the flavor, we want the color, but we don't want all the heat. We want some of the heat, it's important, but it's not about the heat. That's the difference between Texas Mexican and Tex-Mex. This is very brittle. Normally it would be soft and pliable, but this got really, really dry. And so what we do next after you do this is we rehydrate them. And to rehydrate them, you can do one of two things. These are the rehydrated chiles. I left these out all night standing in room temperature water. And now they're completely rehydrated. They look like this. I'll lift it up, you see this? They're completely soft, and they've turned a red color again. You can also, if you don't have time overnight, you can take the chiles and boil them. And as soon as the water starts to boil, turn it off and then steep them for about 15 to 20 minutes, and they will rehydrate. That's the first ingredient that goes in, the Chile Ancho. There's 4 of these. They're rather large, and I think you were sent the recipe. And my hope is that you'll be able to make these and maybe eat them while you're watching our movie. Our movie really isn't a cooking show. It's a 90-minute documentary feature, of course, but it's less of a cooking show. It more is the aesthetic practice that cooking is and eating. So it's about the borderlands cuisine and how encounter happens through cooking and eating. So that's one of the ingredients. We're going to finish the recipe with the rest of the ingredients, which is oregano, garlic, and onion. That's the onion that will go into the chile adobo. We're making a chile paste first, so we put all the onion. When you do this, notice that I have the sharp edge up. You don't want to be sliding the edge, the cutting edge, because then that'll dull your knife, of course. And then we'll add some garlic. We're going to add 3 or 4 cloves of garlic. This is the way I do it. I'm sure everyone has their way. I think that's enough. After you crush it, you peel it. It peels very easily. And I'll throw 3. And then I'll add some oregano. I'm going to add some water. Normally I would not use this because with pollution and not knowing where the sourcing happens with these chiles, with pesticides, the water, although it's very flavorful and colorful, may have bad ingredients. But this one I know the source, and so it's fine. We can add that. Pardon me. And then you blend it. Now, what I like to do is to go very slowly at first, make sure that it doesn't pop up. And then once it starts to get blended, this is a commercial brand blender, and you could run your lawnmower on the motor that this has. So it's fine to go all the way. I think that does it. You want it to be very smooth because when you taste the sauce, you want the sauce to have, again, mouthfeel. The mouthfeel is very important. You want this to be a velvety, and sumptuous feeling on your palate, on your tongue. That is ready now. This is the first stage. Rehydration is first, then blending with the spices is second, and then the final stage for making an adobo is to cook it. When you put it in, it will splatter. This is a little bit unhot, so when it splatters, just be very careful. I have the lid nearby in case I need to put the lid on. The reason that you fry the chile, and you'll know when it's ready, is you want it to turn a really deep red color, and then all of the greenness of the chiles and of the oregano will have gone, and that's a good thing. Now, while that is cooking, it'll take about 15 minutes, and then you'll see how the color changes. I'm whisking some 1 egg, which we will put into our combination of 1 pound of beef and 1 pound of pork. I use ground beef and ground pork. I suppose you could have it chopped, but I like it ground. The texture is much more smooth. I'm going to put on some gloves for this. This is an interesting recipe because, most meatballs have origin in the Arab world. Albóndigas. Albóndigas in Spanish comes from the Arab word. And because Spain was occupied by the Arabs for 800 years, until around the 1500s, many of the Arab influences are in the food, and this is one of them. The way to fix meatballs, which is an egg followed by bread that has been dipped in milk. I use about three slices of bread, and so we're going to mix that bread soaked in milk with all of the meat until it's fully incorporated along with the egg. Now, up to now, you will say, this is very standard meatball recipe for just about anything, and that's true. And the twist it gets in this recipe is that from now on, after we finish this segment, which is traditional Arab, Spanish, European, we are going to add the Chile Ancho, which of course will give it a very, very special and I think spectacular taste. So we're adding about 8 or 9 tablespoons of the puree to flavor the meat. Now that's hot, of course, the puree, so I'm just putting it around the edges and it doesn't burn my hands. Now at this stage, we're going to have to taste it. I know some people who actually put this in their mouth and taste it raw. I don't do that. I wanted to see how it's going to taste when it's fully cooked. So there we are. That's fully incorporated. I think I forgot to add the salt, so I'll add the salt now. There we go, incorporating the salt. And then I'm going to fry it in a frying pan with a little bit of olive oil and then taste it. I will taste to see if there's enough chile. It's enough chile. Wait. Gee, that's good. Okay. I would add some more chile. I thought it was good, but it needs a little bit more chile. And then these are ready to be shaped. I'd like to invite you to really, if you make these, taste the difference in how the adobo, how the chile puree that we made is not hot. These meatballs have no heat whatsoever. They just have a lot of flavor with the oregano, the Mexican oregano, and the chile cooked to the point where the chile develops its flavor after it's blended. We fried it, and it becomes very complex. And I think you will see. I hope you'll be surprised if you haven't had food like this before, and that you'll like it. It's borderland food, really. Chile Ancho is used a lot in Mexico, all over Mexico, but it's used in the Texas borderlands. The movie is, as I said before, it's about how cooking is an aesthetic practice. It's a practice, a cultural practice that foments identity and that builds relationships. And that's how we see the borderlands. In the movie, you'll see that if you look at the border from the point of view of cooking, where it is the blending of different ingredients that make the dish special. It's like these meatballs, they're Arabic to begin with, but then it's twisted because they arrive in a land, in a certain landscape, which is Texas. So we see the border of Texas, the borderland, not as a wall that separates, but as a space of cultural encounter. That's what borderlands is. How is it that encounter can be given a new understanding? What is the new understanding? The encounter up to now has been war. The Spaniards arrive in Texas in 1528. They come to reconnoiter for conquest. And the indigenous peoples try to fight back. They are immediately defeated and killed because the diseases that the Europeans brought with them sometimes would kill entire communities within days. So you can imagine in a community that depends on its philosophy, on its knowledge of biology, medicine, on the elders, and the elders die off. It was just devastating. So that type of encounter is to be supplanted. And what we say in the movie is, here I'm giving you the message of the movie, but it's not a spoiler. The movie really questions, what is the new encounter? What is the new encounter? That if we look at cuisine as a blending of flavors that gives new meaning and new beauty, this type of encounter of differences, understanding differences and embracing them, what does that look like when people, individual people do it and when societies do it? I think it's a formula that leads to peace, actually, in society, if we were to undertake that sort of perspective, where differences are embraced. But that's in the film. I'm really thrilled that our film was selected. I served as the writer and executive producer. I'm also the host in the show. And it's a very interesting production because it's a Texas-Latin America collaboration. We are the Texas filmmakers, and we collaborated with the director, who is from Uruguay, Aníbal Capuano, and the cinematographer is also from Uruguay. His name is Gabriel Bendan. When they saw the book upon which this movie is based, the book is also called Truly Texas Mexican. When they saw it, they told me it was their idea to do it. It was Aníbal, the director's idea, to do it, because when he read the book, he said, this resonates with Latin American peoples. This is a universal story about indigenous lands and indigenous cultures finding a new way today to make a new encounter in society through food. So that's how the movie came about. We are done with our meatballs. Let me wash my hands and then we'll put those in the oven. While the meatballs are cooking, we can make the adobo that will be the sauce for the meatballs. So we're going to use the rest of this puree that's left and add freshly cut tomatoes, uniformly diced as you can see. And we add those. This is about a total of 2 cups. And then we want to put that on high. The juice from the tomatoes will release and this will become very, very soupy. But we also add 2 cups of chicken stock. And the heat will stay on high. The adobo is getting a nice consistency and the tomatoes are releasing their juices. I'm going to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of sugar and then about a 1/2 tablespoon of vinegar. These amounts, to me, they pump up the acidity, which is the brilliance of the flavors, but it's not really acidic or bitter in taste. And then the sugar tones it down a little bit. The combination of the two, I think, gives the final touch to this sauce. So today I'm going to use the stick blender that I have, and it will become very, very smooth. And that will make a smooth, smooth sauce. So our meatballs are now ready for the plate. And I'm going to serve them two ways. The first way is for the first way is with toothpicks, you know. Sometimes you can serve them with toothpicks or with a fork, and you pass the plate around. I don't usually eat them with tortillas. Some people like to eat them with tortillas, but I like them just the way they are. Arrange them on the plate and then pour the sauce over it. We have the adobo sauce waiting nearby. And we are going to sauce it with lots of love. I love this sauce. It's a sauce, you know, but it's an adobo. An adobo is made with combinations of chiles, in this case just the Chile Ancho, and then the spices. And I like to garnish with a little bit of oregano, because the oregano is in the recipe. And it's nice to, from time to time, take a bite of fresh oregano. And that will be the plate for the Chile Ancho meatballs, a dish of the Texas borderlands. So there's one. But you can also make sliders with these meatballs, and I think that's a delicious way to serve them. It's like a meatball sandwich. So I take usually two. Some people like just one, but I will put two in each of the sliders. They're nice and crispy on the outside, and they're very juicy and flavorful on the inside. We sauce them with the adobo. And that's even the aroma from this vantage point that I have is just wonderful. I'm going to put plenty of sauce so that the bread, you know, soaks it up. So this is very, very thinly sliced cabbage that you just lay on top. Cabbage is a very important part of garnishing Mexican pozole, and you use it in fish tacos. So it's very natural to use that, and I like it with the adobo made from Chile Ancho. There you go. Those are your sliders that you can be enjoying while you watch our feature film, Truly Texas Mexican. It's great to have been with you. I hope this has been instructive and that you will enjoy the Chile Ancho meatballs. Thank you.